Hello, welcome once again. Today I'm going to be treating something very important in software development lifecycle, which is something about CICD. So I call this how to automate CICD workflows with Github. So I'm going to be working on CICD and I'm going to be linking it with GitHub, and then I'm going to be doing a lot of explanation, both the theoretical aspect of it and then the practical aspect of it. So why CICD? I believe that is a question that many people love to ask, especially once we start talking about CICD. I'm going to give you a background. Some times ago, I developed a project. I wrote the code for a project, and then it was a node-based project. And then when I was done with the project, all I did was I just pushed to GitHub and I left it there. So a few years later, I just thought about that project, and I'm like, oh, this software I developed. Then let me just do a deployment of it and let's see how it even looks. So I went back to my GitHub, and then I cloned it back to my system that I was using at that time. Then it's a node based system. It's a node based code, like I told you. So I did some, npm install and all that, and then I launched it on my system. It was working fine. So I felt like, okay, now it's working fine. Let me just deploy it. So I use at the time I use Netlify. Maybe some of you might know Netlify. So I used Netlify for the deployment. Then after deploying to Netlify, it threw me error. So I was like, what? Error? So I went back, I checked on my system, it was working fine. So I felt like, where should the error be coming from? Because this code is working fine. I can see it on my system, I can load it fine. So I I didn't want to go through the stress of reading the error code. So I felt, oh, maybe there was something about my configuration on Netlify and all. So I went through the whole configuration, did some test settings and all. So I felt, oh, after that it should be fine. So I reload again, did another push and all, and it triggered, and then it sent back an error again. At that moment, I had no choice. I had to now sit myself down and then began to debug the error message. That's something sometimes you don't want to do as a software engineer. The stress of going through the whole thing. But at this point, I had no choice. So I began to go through the whole error message. Then it sent me back to my packet.json file. From there, then I began to understand, oh, it was one of the libraries which I used for this project, which was working very fine on my system, but it will not work on production server. So I had no choice than to either disable this library and use something else, or I don't deploy at all, because it wasn't going to work on the production server. So I had to go through the whole process, and I used this library, in some places where I had to recall it and all. So I had to start disabling this library in the whole places where I had used it on the software. Now my question is, imagine you are working on a code and then maybe a project where you already told your client, we're going to be done in 6 months, and the client is like, okay, it's fine. Now you are on your 7th month, which you already defaulted from your 6 month, and you're begging the client, you're like, what will be done? We just had a little issue. Now your 7th month, you felt you're done, everybody's fine. Now you want to deploy. You deployed and it threw you this error. And you realize that the problem you're having is something that has to do with one of the libraries you have used, which was like a base foundation for the whole software. So it means if you disable this library, you're going to affect almost every page on that software. In fact, you're going to destruct the whole code. You're on your 7th month. Your client is waiting. Now you can't deploy because whatsoever you've written for the past 6 or 7 months is not going to work on the server. I mean, it's not going to work on the production server. Imagine the stress. Just imagine the trauma. Imagine how your client will feel. Imagine the disappointment you're going to get as a software engineer. These are some of the things that brought about the issue of CICD. So, why CICD? Just like I said. Number one thing. So, number one is faster time to market. With the concept of CICD, we can reduce the time it takes for software to be, deployed and delivered to market. Because you're going to, in the whole process of CICD, you'd have eliminated some error that can delay the delivery of your software. So we have this faster time to market. There is improved code quality because in the whole process of working with CICD, there's some part of your code which you would have been able to, reframe and then do a whole lot of rearrangement in the whole process. So CICD will help you with this. How about it enhances collaboration? And this is very important because with the whole concept of CICD, you can collaborate with a team of engineers. And let me explain this. It means with the whole concept of CICD, something may not work or may be working fine on your system. And then maybe it's not going to work on the production server. Or another engineer is trying to do the same thing, but it's not working fine. So in that process, because of the collaboration, you guys can have an understanding, a mutual agreement of what will work for everyone. So I mean, things that will work with for you, work for other engineers, and ultimately, work on the production server because that is the ultimate goal of everybody. And then it reduces your manual effort. Yes, CICD is automated, and that's the beautiful thing. So the whole process of deployment and all it's automated, so you don't need to be doing it manually. This is one of the bigger importance of CICD and why CICD is big. How about scalability? With the whole concept of CICD, you can easily scale your project. So it gives room for scalability and it is very flexible. So you can be flexible with your code, with your project, and or you can test a few things in the whole process, and it's automated. And then it gives this continuous feedback loop. So the concept of CICD is so good that for every push you do to your Github, for instance, you can be able to, get a feedback from other engineers or from your DevOps engineer, from whoever is managing your production server. So it gives this continuous feedback loop, which is something very, very beautiful about CI/CD. So another thing we're talking about now is what are the benefits of CI/CD? So majorly, or just to put it this way, is that it enables development team to automate the process of integrating code changes, testing them, and delivering them to production environment efficiently and consistently. And these are some of the beauty of CI/CD. So you can do all of these things consistently. So that's another beautiful thing about CI/CD. And so what's the meaning of CI/CD? The CI means continuous integration, while the CD means continuous deployment or continuous delivery, as the case may be. There is always this argument between the two, and I'm going to explain something about either you call it as continuous delivery or continuous deployment. There's a slight difference between the two, so I'm going to explain that concept. So, what is a continuous? Okay, let me just put it this way: the whole concept of either you call it continuous delivery or you call it continuous deployment, I summarize it this way. It all has to do with the approach with which you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from the approach of delivering to the client, it is a continuous delivery because whatsoever you've written as a code, the client is not interested in the code. is only interested in the product. So that is why it is continuous delivery. So if you're looking at it from the aspect of how fast it gets to market, how fast your clients and your customers are able to use your product, then you're looking at it from the area of continuous delivery. And when you're looking at it from the area of continuous deployment, it means how fast are the engineers able to deploy to production server, for instance. So that's just the whole concept. So the whole thing, the continuous delivery, continuous deployment, they work hand in hand. So it's just that one has more to do with the client part of it, while one has more to do with the engineering thing part of it. So that's just the whole concept. So what are the CI/CD tools? We have several CI/CD tools, and I'm just going to mention a few like Jenkins, we have Circle CI, we have AWS Code Pipeline, we have Azure DevOps, we have GitHub Actions, we have Argo CD, and many more. So for this project, I'm going to be talking more about the GitHub Action, which is native to GitHub. So what are some of the, so I'm going to say why did I use GitHub, but let me say a few things about GitHub. GitHub was founded in April by 2008, by these three guys. You can see their names on the screen. So it started as a platform for hosting and sharing codes repository. That's basically what GitHub started as. So you share codes, and also it helps engineers to be able to work together, remotely. So that's the whole concept of GitHub, and it is a distributed version control. That's one thing that makes it better than other version controls that we've had, because distributed means you don't have to you don't have to actually work on the same location in that sense. So you can have a copy of the code to your system, work on it, then deploy, which makes it more easier for engineers. So I don't really have to make my changes in one spot. So we don't have to make all the changes in one spot. Each person could always clone the same copy of the project to his or her local machine, make your changes, then you send it back. And this is why GitHub became popular and widely accepted among engineers. So GitHub Action, let me just say a few things about GitHub Actions. It's a tool provided by GitHub. I told you it is native to GitHub, and it allows you to automate tasks and workflows within your software development lifecycle. So workflows, what is workflow? Workflow can be defined as YAML syntax and can include steps that perform various tasks such as building and testing your code, deploying your application, or running automated checks. And this is just a definition of workflows. So it enables you to do all of these things. So, and it's usually YAML file. Of course, there is another aspect of workflow. Sometimes the JSON file, but people hardly use JSON file. Most times it is YAML file. So for workflow. So just to simply put, you say GitHub Action is a built-in CI/CD tool for GitHub, and that's what makes it interesting. It is native to GitHub. So what are the benefits? The benefit, like I said earlier, it is a native integration with GitHub. So because it is native to GitHub, it's easier for you to use. The setup is easy, and then it has a rich ecosystem of actions and integration. GitHub is big, you get. So you can be sure that we have several engineers working on GitHub Actions to make it better daily, day in, day out, rather. So it's one of the good things about GitHub Actions, the tight version control and visibility, and then cost effective. That's another part of it. It's not the pricing model is something that is good for you. I mean, the pricing model is not outrageous. That's the way I'll put it. So you can always get the one that works for you. So enough of the theory. Now let's get into the practical aspect of it. Let's practicalize the whole of this and see how it works in real time jobs.
Okay, so to explain the whole concept of this GitHub workflow, CICD workflow with GitHub, what I'm going to do, this is my GitHub repository. I mean, this is my GitHub account. So I'm going to create a new repo just to explain how this thing works. Let me just call it, let me give you my name, Damilare Testing. Testing. Let me just give you my name. Let me put a space there. All right. So let me just call it Damilare Testing. That's all. I'm not adding any other thing. Just for explanation. So now I've created this repository, and then to add the GitHub action, this is what you have to do. First, you come here. You see this action. You have to click on action. So when you click your actions, it shows you this page. So let me show you a few things. You see, these are just templates depending on your understanding and how you can work around this. But let's work with this template, this simple workflow. I just want to explain some things with this. So this is a default template by GitHub. Now I need us to understand some things here. Number one, look at the directory where this workflow is. You can see .github slash workflows slash, then you have the blank .yml. Now this could be YML, this could also be YAML. Maybe you want to write it in full. YAML just means yet another markup language. So that's not the point here now. Now the point is that you must mind this directory. This has to be the correct directory before you now have this your YAML file. Now understand also that this file must have the extension of either this YML or YAML info. That is the only language it understands. So if you create any file here and it doesn't see it as YAML file, it won't pick up anything. And this spellings has to be correct. It has to be the right way. So this is just the directory for workflow. So on your root directory, then you create this and all. Now let me explain the content of this YAML file. You see the name CI, that's the name, and here it's talking about control, how you want it to be controlled. So the control here is saying on once there's a push to the branch, this branch main, you might have several other branch, but here it has said only trigger when there is a push to this main branch or there is a pull request on this main branch. So if you have several other branches on this repository, as far as nothing is done around main branch, there is no workflow will not run. So this is just the understanding of this, and then you have the jobs. The jobs here is to build, run. We are running Ubuntu latest, so it will always look for the latest version of Ubuntu that is released, and then do the steps and all this. If you understand how YAML file is done, you will understand all this. And don't forget one big major thing you should consider with YAML file is the indentation. For instance, if for any reason I move this here now, I've disrupted this, it will disrupt the whole thing. So indentation is very, very key in creating YAML file. So I'm not going to use this template. I will copy something else that we're going to use for this explanation. Let me just uh, go back here. Yes, I'm going back. So this is still our directory. So let me just create. This is still our root repo. So let me just create new file. So look at the way I'm going to create it. This is very, very key. So first I will say dot github, then I put a slash. That slash makes it a folder. Then workflows, then put a slash. Then I can then, let me just call it uh, name. Let me just call it name.yaml. You could call it any name, anything you want, but it must have this YAML file at the end. So I just want to copy something here and place it in there, and then just to show you. So I'm going to copy this code and then place it in here just to explain. So this code is saying the name is super limited, and what we're just doing is want on push. As when there's a push, we want the workflow to trigger. And you see the way I just configured it may be a little different from there, because I put my on push, but I didn't put the clause at the beginning here. I put the clause here, which says default branch main. So we're still talking about the same thing. It's just the way I configured it, the way I structured the code anyways. So you see the jobs. So you're saying linter code base runs on Ubuntu latest. So it will always first install Ubuntu latest. Ubuntu is OS. So it installed Ubuntu latest first, then check out and does every other thing that are needed. So let's just run this. So I can commit it. Let me commit. So once I commit this file, now there's something I want us to I want to show you here. Now I've committed this file. Is there now? Something we pop show here. You see this amber sign. Is this amber sign is telling you that okay, workflow is going on. So when I create this, when I click it and then check the details, then I can see the way the whole workflow is going on. You can see these are, so you can see the steps of everything that is being created. So this will show us the whole step. So you see, it's setting up the job, it's pulling this super linter, and then it's going to check out code and then run super linter and all. So uh, these are just the steps that I defined in my YAML in the YAML file. So let's wait for it. Okay, that's it, guys. I think everything is created already. Now you can see this green sign. So if there was a failure, this would be a cross sign with red background telling you that there's an error somewhere. But this has been created successfully. So let's use this workflow to do something. I'm just going to create. I'm just going to create a file. Let me call the file. Oh, sorry. Okay, Let me just create a simple HTML file. So I'll call it index.html. Um, so that's it. So let me paste a content in it. Just a simple index.html file code. You see, this is just a simple form in HTML. So I'm going to commit it. Now, the moment I commit this, it will trigger the workflow by itself. And that's the beauty of CICD workflow. So the moment I commit this, let me go back to show you. You see, so it works automatically. I told you earlier that this is one of the beauty of CICD. It does the whole code check automatically. As far as there's a commit, it does it automatically. You see, so for every push, according to what I put in that code, for every push that is done on this to the main branch, this will continue to trigger and it will keep checking. So if you look at this whole thing now, in the whole process, you will see where it checked the index.html file that I put there. So if there was something wrong with that index.html file, it's going to trigger. And I'm going to do that now just to show you how this works. So let's wait for it to complete the flow. So it's completed and you can see green because everything works fine. And then, so let me make a change here quickly. Let me disturb this index.html file. I want to disturb the code and then let's see what happened. Okay, let me just do something about this. For instance, let me just affect this body with something. So this tag is no longer correct with this. So let's commit and see what happened. The moment you make a commit, okay, yeah, so it has started. Every commit that is done on this main branch, it will trigger the workflow. So you see the same process. It will keep doing that. So the beauty of CICD is that it checks your code at every push that you make, at every commit you make to the very branch that was stated. It will check the code and check if there is an error or if there is an issue with compatibility and also it will always check. Let me go back. I'm checking the whole code. Let me go back. I press something actually. So this is still the one that is. These are the ones that have been successful earlier. So still checking. Show me. Now you can see it already showing me that there is a failure here. So you can see, so it failed. And it will tell you why it failed. That's one good thing about it. It's going to show you why it failed. When you look at the whole code coming, it's already showing me that there's a failure here. Let me reload this page. Something is okay. Yeah. So, so, uh, so you can see he's already complaining about this tag. He said this tag body must be paired. He said there's no starting tag for this body, number one. It also complained, he said, this very tag. And those are the things I say. So it will always check your code and tell you that there's an error somewhere. And it can always give you where the error is coming from. You can see it's already telling me that it's an in this, it's the excuse me, is the index.html file and it's already showing me where the error is. So if I correct this and then reload again, it's going to work. So let's leave that. Now we're going to test this on a real project, which I have just one mini project here, but let me quickly correct this. So let me just remove that those things I put, and then body. All right. So commit. So this will be successful. So let's work on a real project which I have here. Okay, so you can see this is a real project. It's a Node.js project. You can see the whole. These are the repository, and then I have it. So this is the project, and I already have it on my on my system. I have it on my local machine, and this is it. So what I want to do here now is to uh, create the workflow for this. You can see there's no workflow here. So it's you can see that there's nothing that looks like the other sign we were seeing here. Something like this. Let me show you. Something like this. You can't have it here because we've not initiated a workflow here. So I want to initiate a workflow for this project. So looking at this, you can see that there's no workflow. So I want to create a workflow. So this is what I will do. So I'll just come here. I'll just the same pattern, the same way we did it. So I'll create dot git up and workflows. Let me just call it main.yaml. So I'm going to copy some lines of code here, and I'm going to explain this code. Sorry, I'm going to paste it here. So when you look at this line of code, what I'm saying is that I want to deploy the app code to AWS. This time around, I'm not using CloudFront. I want to use S3. S3. So S3, AWS S3 bucket. So I'm going to show you how I link that. So this is on. So I'm saying on push. As far as there's a push, so the branch I want is main. I explain all this. So deployment to Ubuntu latest and all. Check out, and you can see all this. So first thing, after doing all this setup, I want it to install all the dependencies and build the API code. This is something important uh, uh, for a node-based app. You will understand if you are used to node-based app. So it install all the dependencies, and then it builds the bundle and all. Then npm react script build. If you are used to node, you understand all of that. Then after doing all of that, I wanted to set up my AWS CLI. You see, there are two major ways, among other ways, which you can access AWS account. Is either you access through your console or you access through your CLI. And of course, when it has to do with coding, you access through CLI. So it's going to set up an AWS CLI here, just the same way you will need to set it up on your local machine if you must access AWS account. So this is it, and then these are the secret. This I have defined this. Now I will show you where I defined these two things, because for you to access AWS CLI, you must have your access key and your secret access keys, which is something that comes with your IAM users. I'm not focusing on that today, but I'm going to show you where I configured this, because it in the real practice of it, it is not encouraged that you put your access key and your secret key on your repository. So you have to define it in your secret under your repository account. Let me show you where I did that. So on this, on your very repository, go to the settings. Oh, it's no. It's gonna. Okay, I'll go back there. Let me commit first. So this and this. So I'll show you when I'm done. So I'm deploying to S3 bucket, AWS S3 sync, and all. This GitHub action 1122. I have already created this S3 bucket, so that's why it can it can locate it. So with these two details, it's going to locate this bucket, and let me show you where I created that bucket on my account here. Okay, so you can see this is the bucket, and at the moment the bucket is empty. The bucket is empty. Now, for this bucket to work, there are a few things I did, which include permission. I created this permission, this policy. So this policy is, if you don't define all these policies, even by the time it pushes there, you won't be able to access some of the things, which I will still show you how I will access them. But let's just leave that. So let me commit this. Then I will show you the secret, which I wanted to show you at the initial time. So now I've committed it. It's going to start the trigger because you see now we have it. This wasn't there before. But let me quickly show you that secret I was talking about. You come to settings. Under your GitHub, the very repository you want to add the secret, you see there is something here, secret and variables. Then you go to actions. So this is where I already defined my AWS access key and my AWS secret keys. So as far as you put it here, it means you are not vulnerable. The details are not out. So you are not encouraged to put those details on your directly on your repository file. So you are supposed to define it here. So let's go and check what is happening here. So it's installing the dependencies. It's going to install all the dependencies of that app. It's going to install everything. So it's building, it's setting up the AWS CLI. So for any reason, if the secret keys are not correct, it's not going to be able to set up this AWS CLI. So, you can see it's successful. So the deployment was done successfully because all the configurations were correct. And now if I go back to my same GitHub action, the GitHub bucket, which was here, you will see, you see, it's looking empty. Let me reload it. If I reload the page now, it will show all the details because it has pushed those things into the bucket. You see, so I have all my files here. So for this very app, I think it was the root file is actually index.html. So I want to open the index.html for us to be able to view our website and see how it looks. So let me just, you could open through here or you copy this URL. So let me just open through here. It should open a new tab. So this is the app. You can see. So it's just a meme app which I created long time ago. So you can generate meme and all that and all. So you can see. So we are able to, as it is now, we are able to do all of this through the. Don't forget the AWS link which was given to us by the time we pushed to the S3 bucket. So this is how GitHub action works. So if I do anything here, if I make any push here, for instance, let me make a change here just for you to understand this. Let me just put something in this README file. Let me just say just read, just read. Then let me commit whatsoever I put here. Save. Let me commit it. Let me just git add. Git commit. What should I call it? Okay, just read. Let me just give it the same name. Just read. Now let me just git push. Once I make push from my local machine, as far as it hits the GitHub, okay, now I'm having issues here. I need to do, because I made some commit up there, so I need to do git pull rebase. I think git config pull dot rebase. I'm not sure if I'm correct with this. Config, I think there is something global. Pull rebase. I'm not sure if I'm correct. Okay, it says I'm not correct. Okay, let me just do git pull. Okay, I've done git pull, so it has pulled it. So let me just then git add. Okay, git commit. I believe the commit should still be there, but let me just what do I call it? Just read. Let me just do it. Just read. So now let me git push. Okay, it's making a push. So when you come here now, let me go back to that. This is it. So as far as I make a push, once the push hits, you see, this is the push. Just read that I just did. Once the push reaches your GitHub repository, once it hits it, it's going to, start the workflow again and again. So this is the beauty of GitHub workflow. It means every push, every remote push that comes to this repository is going to trigger and is going to start, checking the whole code and all that. So imagine if this GitHub Actions has been connected to your production server. It's going to, whatsoever you have asked it to do here, is going to push it and it's going to make effect immediately on your production server. And this is one of the beauty of CICD pipeline. So it's something that you should use always because it makes work become agile. It encourages agile way of doing work, and you know what I'm saying. So I think that's all for this video. I'll see you in my next video. Take care of yourself. And if there's any other thing you do not understand, just comment in the comment section. I will be able to check. And do well to share this video. Do well to like this video. Do well to give your comment and do well to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.